What a year 2007 was. Within that short 12-month period, a whole bunch of great things happened all around the world. The first iPhone made its debut, combining a number of gadgets into one pocket-sized package. The final part of the Harry Potter saga was published, and the Spice Girls launched their reunion tour in Vancouver. It was also a wonderful year to be a gamer, with barely a month going by without one fantastic release or another gracing our PS3s, PCs, Nintendo Wiis, and Xbox 360s. They all rhyme. That's kind of weird. I've never noticed that before. Before we get to the entries, though, we must remind you of the rules that we abide by when curating these lists. In order to qualify for a spot, a game must have received at least 7 professional reviews and have been released in at least one territory in the year in question. We take our review scores from both Metacritic and GameRankings, and where the two aggregators differ in opinion, we go with whichever one scored the highest. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best games of 2007. Number 10, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Wii, 90.23%. There were some people who thought of the Wii as nothing more than a gimmicky console that was only fit to be wheeled out at parties when you fancied trouncing your mates at virtual tennis. But those people were wrong. Although the system did indeed have more than its fair share of duds, it also had gems like Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Set 6 months after the events of Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption follows Samus as she confronts the space pirates, tries to determine the fate of her missing fellow bounty hunters, and attempts to prevent the spread of the Phazon, all whilst being corrupted by it herself. The game was lauded for being an outstanding conclusion to the Metroid Prime series, and received praise for almost everything it did. Naturally, not everyone was convinced by the motion controls, with some critics complaining of painful wrists after playing the game, but aside from the odd ache here and there, most were happy with the title. Not only did it look stunning, but it was also well written and voice acted, atmospheric, and full to the brim with engaging puzzles and exciting boss battles. And it helped to prove once and for all that the Wii was more than just a vehicle for daft party games with your nan. Number 9. Crysis PC, 91%. If you were the owner of a gaming PC back in 2007 and you were in the market for a fantastic first-person shooter, then you could have done far worse than to look in the direction of Crysis. The game is set in the distant future of 2020, by which time an ancient alien-built structure has been discovered buried in a mountain on the fictional Lingshan Islands. Players take on the role of Jake Nomad Dunn, a soldier in the US Army Delta Force, who must face off against both human and extraterrestrial enemies using futuristic technology and weapons. Both the Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of Crysis garnered good review scores, but it was on the PC where the game really shone. In particular, critics lauded the graphics, physics, and varied gameplay, with one reviewer even going as far as to call Crysis, quote, easily one of the best shooters ever made. Just about the only fault that critics could find with Crysis was that it required a pretty beefy PC to run it, which not all gamers would have had access to. But when you look at all that developer Crytek were able to achieve with this title, you can probably forgive them that one transgression. Number 8. Mass Effect, Xbox 360, 91.24%. We're sticking with troublesome aliens for the moment as we turn our attention to Mass Effect, the role-playing masterpiece from developer BioWare. The game takes place over a century in the future, in the year 2183, by which time humans have made their way into the vast expanse of space. However, we're not alone out there, and although most alien races are perfectly friendly, there is one in particular, the Reapers, who are out to ruin everyone's day by eradicating all organic civilizations. Rude. Players must initially choose from one of 6 different character classes before heading out into the galaxy and embarking on a series of quests. As they progress through the game, they'll be faced with choices that impact their morality, which affects the availability of dialogue options later down the line. Most critics had nothing but good things to say about Mass Effect, praising everything from its deep, engaging, and interactive storytelling, which encouraged multiple playthroughs, to its cinematic design. There was some criticism levelled at the game's combat, space travel, and the AI of the party members, though the good news is that all of these things were fixed in Mass Effect 2. I wonder if we'll be seeing that in a later list. Regardless of that though, Mass Effect 1 was still a wonderful RPG. Number 7. Rock Band, Xbox 360, 92%. We've had appearances from both Guitar Hero and Guitar Hero 2 on these best of lists, so it seems only fair that Rock Band gets its moment in the spotlight as well. Rock Band bore a lot of similarities to the Guitar Hero series, which was unsurprising considering it was developed by the same studio. Unlike Guitar Hero though, which limited players to the guitar, Rock Band allowed aspiring virtuosos to experience being a drummer or a vocalist as well. Along with the actual game, which contained over 50 songs from artists such as Nirvana and Metallica, most of which were master recordings, Rock Band came packaged with a little plastic guitar, drum kit, and microphone, which all came together to give players a truly hard-rocking experience. Most critics agreed that Rock Band was a wonderful co-op game and one of the finest party titles ever released. Some did express concerns over the quality of the pack-in peripherals, but a slightly flimsy drum kit was nowhere near enough to ruin their fun. Naturally, the vast song library and the Band World Tour mode were the game's highlights, but Rock Band also received praise for its visual presentation and online play, both of which were cherries on top of the delicious heavy metal sundae. Number 6. God of War 2, PS2, 93%. You've got to feel a bit sorry for poor old Kratos. He had a rough time of it in 2005's God of War, what with Ares tricking him into killing his own wife and daughter, and despite then becoming the new God of War, he continued to have a terrible time in the sequel. Set in ancient Greece, God of War 2 once again has players taking on the role of unlucky lad Kratos, only this time it's Zeus, not Ares, that's doing the betraying. Enraged by Kratos' defiance and refusal to remain loyal to the gods, Zeus tricks Kratos into giving up his godly powers, kills him with the Blade of Olympus, and destroys the Spartan army. Thankfully, Kratos is saved by the Titan Gaia, and he embarks on a quest to find the Sisters of Fate, turn back time, and get his sweet, sweet revenge. There are many who consider God of War 2 to be the finest PlayStation 2 game of all time, and for good reason. The gameplay was polished and refined, the graphics were stunning, and the combat was oh so satisfying. The game was also balanced, well-paced, and accessible to new players, while still remaining challenging enough for veteran gamers. Number 5. Halo 3, Xbox 360, 94%. It takes a lot to produce even just one critically acclaimed game, but to do it 3 times in a row is frankly astounding. We're going to make the assumption that someone down at Bungie sold their soul to the devil or something, because we can't think of any other explanation for why the developer was able to create 3 magnificent games on the bounce. Halo 3 continues, and ultimately concludes, the story arc that began in Halo Combat Evolved. Set in the 26th century, Halo 3 sees players once again joining Super Soldier Master Chief as he continues his quest to overcome the Covenant army and the parasitic Flood. The first-person shooter released to universal critical acclaim, with reviewers praising it for being everything they hoped for and more. Specifically, critics called out the additional gameplay elements such as new vehicles and equipment, and the Forge map editor as particular highlights. The campaign was also commended, as critics felt it to be far more satisfying than that of Halo 2. Naturally, Halo 3 wasn't perfect. Some of the AI was a bit dodgy, and not all of the facial animations were spot on, but solid gameplay, a well-told story, and outstanding multiplayer meant that players were able to look past all that with considerable ease. Number 4. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, PS3, 94.16%. Prior to 2007, the Call of Duty series had squarely focused on World War II, but although the games were pretty decent, they weren't best games of material. All of that changed in 2007 though, with the release of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, a game which, as the title would suggest, eschews the historical setting in favour of in favour of Modern Warfare. Set in the year 2011, Modern Warfare saw players taking on the role of several different characters and had them undertaking missions against a backdrop of a Russian civil war and a coup d'etat in the Middle East. Most critics agreed that Modern Warfare didn't exactly revolutionise the first-person shooter genre, but that didn't really matter as it came pretty gosh darn close to perfecting it. The single-player campaign received praise for its competent storytelling and action-packed gameplay, whilst basically every aspect of the multiplayer experience, including the variety of maps that were on offer and the ability to call in air support, garnered critical acclaim. Additionally, reviewers were impressed by the refined AI and the audio-visual presentation, and though some weren't super keen on the linearity of the story mode, others felt that it didn't detract from the overall experience. Number 3. BioShock, Xbox 360, 96%. We've covered BioShock a lot on this channel, and it's a favourite of many of us down at TripleJump Towers. Clearly though, we're not alone, as pretty much every critic who reviewed BioShock upon its release had nothing but good things to say about it. Players jump into the slightly damp shoes of Jack, a man who, after surviving a plane crash, discovers the underwater city of Rapture. Once an isolated utopia, Rapture has fallen following the discovery of Adam, a genetic material that grants supernatural powers, its residents largely driven insane through overconsumption. In order to escape, Jack must uncover the city's past, all while fending off Adam-obsessed splicers and hulking big daddies. BioShock received universal critical acclaim, with some calling it one of the best video games ever made. The game garnered much praise for its design, as well as for its atmosphere, which remained tense throughout the entire runtime. There was also a great deal of love for the story, which was well written, highly engaging, and featured one of the finest twist endings in gaming history, as well as the game's philosophical themes, graphics, audio, and gameplay. BioShock went on to win a plethora of awards and to make us paranoid every time somebody asked us, "Would you kindly do the dishes?" Number 2. The Orange Box, Xbox 360, 96.36%. Now, I know we've previously said that we don't include re-releases, ports, compilations, or the like in these lists, but we have a very good reason for giving a spot to the Orange Box. Not only did it include fantastic brand new, never-before-released titles in the form of Portal, Team Fortress 2, and Half-Life 2 Episode 2, but it also brought Half-Life 2 Episode 1 to consoles for the very first time, so for that reason alone, we think it gets a pass. We have, of course, featured Half-Life 2 itself on one of these lists previously, so we won't bore you by extolling its virtues for a second time. But not to worry, it's not like there isn't a ton of other great stuff in the Orange Box to talk about. But for the avoidance of doubt, I will just say that both Half-Life 2 episodes went down well with critics, who praised them for their intricate gameplay and impeccable design. And although some weren't overly impressed by the game's short runtimes, everything else that was on offer more than made up for it. But what about the rest of the box? Well, first-person shooter Team Fortress 2 also released to a stellar reception, with critics praising the fun, cartoony graphics and the light-hearted gameplay that had them coming back to the game time and time again. And last but by no means least, Portal exceeded expectations by delivering not only a brilliant puzzler experience, but some absolutely brilliant humour as well. Not bad for a little orange box. And number 1, Super Mario Galaxy, Wii, 97.64%. Well, what have we here? Not only was Super Mario Galaxy the best game of the year 2007, but it was also, according to our friends over at Metacritic and Game Rankings at least, the best Nintendo Wii game of all time. Everyone's favourite Italian plumber returned in 2007 with Super Mario Galaxy. Only this time, he wasn't just bopping about the Mushroom Kingdom, no, he had an entire star system to explore. In terms of its story and gameplay, Super Mario Galaxy tasked players with platforming their way around a series of planets in order to collect power stars so that Mario could save both Princess Peach and the universe from the big yellow and green menace, Bowser. When it came to reviewing Super Mario Galaxy, critics could find little in the way of fault with the game. The visual presentation in particular garnered praise from media outlets who enjoyed the colourful and vibrant levels and character designs. The gameplay, which included gravity mechanics and required the use of a Wiimote, was also commended, as was the sound design and music. So congratulations to you, Mario, although we suspect this won't be the last time we see you and your pals at the top of one of these lists.